Breakroom with Marty Shields.
I moved into Nazareth, I was feeling bad.
Single Stories.
I just need some place where I can lay my head.
Welcome to the program. I'm your host, Marty, and you are in the Breakroom Single Stories. And the song you hear below me somewhere is the song The Wait by the band, and their version actually was on the, well, it wasn't on the Easy Rider soundtrack, although it was in the movie. The folks who actually had the rights to the soundtrack, Dunhill Records, didn't have enough money to get the rights to the band song on the soundtrack, so they had their own band, Smith, do their version, which sounds a lot like the other version. But before we get into that, we want to take a look at the band Smith and the song that they're doing, which is also a version of a song that was written by Burt Bacharach and done in 1961 by the Shirelles. Before we do that, we'll take a look at a gentleman, a performer, singer-songwriter who actually discovered the band Smith in a club in Los Angeles. Here's Del Shannon doing his song Searching from 1965. So sit back, relax, fire up a Calatini, and watch the pictures as they fly through the air. We'll be right back.
No one will understand what I've gotta do. I've gotta find a place to hide with my baby by my side. She's been hurt so much, they treat her mean and cruel. They try to keep us far apart. There's only one thing that we can do. We gotta keep searching, searching, find a place to hide. Searching, searching, she'll be by my side. If we gotta keep on the run, we'll follow the sun. Follow the sun. Doesn't matter what people might say. She's mine and I'm gonna take her anyway.
Like, subscribe, comment. Music History thanks you.
When I saw Carmen and
Buying records cheer me up. Whenever I feel low, I buy some new records.
said, hey Carmen.
Welcome back to the program. Now, the group we'll be looking at, and their song, Smith, is the name of the group, not the song, actually began in the mid-'60s. Two gentlemen that were musician-singers, Jeff Carter and Rich Clyburn, had been with each other in other bands. In fact, in 1966, they were in a band called the Trippers.
Hey, you girl, over there, sitting in the corner.
Now, by 1968, both Rich and Jerry, they're no longer a band, even though they call themselves the Smiths. They've recorded a single for Columbia Records, and they're touring the United States kind of promoting it. And what they do is, because they've been musicians for so long, they go from town to town and pick up musicians who back them up on stage.
Telling me lies. I want to believe that you'll never leave.
In July of '68, they're actually in St. Louis, Missouri, and they're looking for, again, musicians to back them up. And they find out about a band that's local in St. Louis that's done pretty well for itself called The Classmen. And they were hoping to get a couple of the musicians from that group to maybe, do a couple of club dates with them. All they really need is a drummer, but they're always looking for another guitarist. Now, the Classmen are a pretty good band. They do primarily covers, but they also do a couple of their own originals. They have two singers, one of them being Gail McCormick and Bob Medley. This band, the Classmen, are very popular. They primarily do covers, or a couple originals, and they've, besides performing, they've done recording. They've been on TV. They've been on the radio. In fact, here is a video they did back in 1968 called Wondrous Times. Or Wondrous Times, sorry. Here is The Classmen. Is really good, but the one person that stands out to Rich and Jerry, who aren't looking for a female singer, is the female singer in this band, Gail McCormick. talent and wants to maybe get in a band with him, but she's way too young. She's only 19. So the guys tell her, look, when you get old enough, come find us and maybe we'll get a band together. It's not their priority, they're promoting. But they know that she's special, and they tell her, find us when you're older. And sure enough, she gets a hold of them, and she meets them in Florida in late 1968. They join together and move to LA. Now the boys have connects in Los Angeles, besides being in the Trippers and also Smith. They've been performing in LA for years. And this is where they changed their name from the Smiths to just Smith. Now it's kind of weird, like why name my Smith? Well, a lot of groups back, especially in the late 60s, early 70s, had one names for their group, like Steppenwolf. They weren't called the Steppenwolves. Or Cream. They weren't called the Creams. And Smith is one of those bands that goes with Smith. And they play, again, primarily in clubs around Hollywood, LA. They're doing covers, but they're also doing some of their own stuff. And being in a band that actually has 3 singers. I mean, Jerry sings, Rich sings, and of course, Gail sings. And they start playing all different places. They actually end up getting a residency at a club called the Ragdoll in North Hollywood. And they're really good, and one of the people who actually sees them performing is also a singer-songwriter performer from the 60s, Del Shannon. And Del Shannon just thinks they're great. So Del Shannon asks them and says, look, I'll manage you guys. And they, of course, they agree. And his goal is to get them a record contract. The first thing he does is get rid of their drummer, and he brings in a friend of his named Bob Evans, who he knew from Detroit, who's a really professional drummer. And the band also wants somebody that plays organ. And Dale gets a gentleman by the name of Jerry Moss, who's an organ player from the local music union. And now Smith is on their way, and now they need to go ahead and find a record contract. So what Dale does is he takes them away, and for 6 months they practice in his home. They want to get their stuff together before they start promoting themselves to record companies. One record company that actually likes them is Dunhill ABC Records, which is now just Dunhill, but back then was Dunhill ABC Records. And they signed Smith to a deal. And right away they go into the studio, and the song that Dale thinks is going to be really good for them is an old song by the Shirelles. The Beatles did it too, but their version is more sexy and sultry. And of course they're using Gail's voice and her look to actually promote this group. And they work on the song that Del Shannon thinks is going to be a big hit for them, which is Baby It's You. And here is the group Smith doing their number 5 song, I believe. Their first song they put out, what a break for them, is called Baby It's You.
It's not the way you smile that touch my heart. It's not the way you kiss that tears me apart. Many nights go by. I sit alone at home and cry over you. What can I do? Don't want nobody. 'Cause baby, it's you. Baby, it's you. Is it true what they say about you? They say you'll never, ever, never be true. It doesn't matter what they say. I know I'm gonna love you any old way. What can I do without you? Don't want nobody. Baby, it's you.
Now, with a lot of the stories of bands from the 60s and the 70s, they don't last too long, and there's different reasons. And in this band, they've got 3 singers. Now, Gail is primarily the focal point of this band, but Rich and Jerry still see themselves as singers, and they're finding that a lot of the songs that are being promoted to the band are for her. It causes some problem. And then on top of that, Jerry and Gail have had something going for a while, and by late 60s, early 70s, it's starting to kind of fizzle away, the relationship. And so what Jerry does is, he thinks it's a good idea to kind of loosen up the relationship, maybe get them back together. He actually gives Gail acid, LSD. Now, I'm not sure if it was just she wanted to do it or he slipped it to her, but she takes LSD and she has a bad trip. She has a mental breakdown. It's so bad that she actually has to go home back to Missouri to kind of have her mother get her together. And the album company, or record company, Dunhill Records, are really pissed off. And they said, well, we want Jerry out. You know, this guy's messing with our talent, he's messing with our group, they've got to cancel gigs, because they're playing all over the place. Rich's good friend says, no, you're not going to kick out Jerry, he's my partner, we've been doing this for a few years. And Dunhill says, well, no big deal, if you're so big with, you know, Jerry, you can go with him. And they fire both Jerry and Rich, the guys who started the band more or less, from the band Smith. Now, they still have a successful band. And so what they do is they replace Jerry and Richard with two other musicians, and it's just not the same vibe. It just isn't. And they put out another album called, I think it's called Minus Plus, and the album doesn't really go anywhere. It's just a different sound now. It's not the same sound as the original Smith band. Dunhill Records gets rid of them, cancels their contract. Del Shannon is no longer their manager. He's been moved away. And so now Gail is kind of stuck out here in LA trying to keep a career going. She ends up signing with another record company. She actually goes solo. She does 3 albums, and none of them do that well. She has a minor hit with one song. I couldn't even tell you the name of the song. She quits the business in 1973, 74. Gail goes back home. She becomes a retail clerk in a local store. And sadly to say, in 2016, she passes away. And Smith is one of those bands. It's almost like a cliche. You know, a band comes from nowhere, kind of. It gets a big hit right away. It performs and plays and records all over the place. They're big. They're seen everywhere. And then because of, well, you know, sex, drugs, and rock and roll, Jerry and Gail's relationship breaks up, and drugs are involved in that, and eventually it all fades away. Pretty sad, but again, one of those bands that had a one-hit wonder, and just kind of faded away. Sad. Anyhow, thank you for watching this edition of The Breakroom, and we'll see you next time. Take care.
Like and subscribe. Y'all come back now, you hear?